What's up, everyone? I'm Doug Kide. Welcome to Pat's Chat. Joined here by Michael Hurley, as usual. Michael, how are we doing on this fine Thursday night?
Great. Can we start with an apology from yours truly
Yes.
about the other night?
Apologize to
There was
everyone, please.
just audio issues compounded by all sorts of issues, but we fixed them. And so tonight, like if you stuck through that one, it's all smooth sailing from now on. So thank you.
It's all gravy here from here on out. And we have a lot to get to in this show. But first of all, if you were watching last week's episode, Michael no longer looks like a telemarketer or Britney Spears. So that's definitely a positive or negative. I don't know. People
You
might
can
have
still hit me, baby, one more time.
All right. Well, we are going to go over a lot in this show. We'll give some leftover thoughts on week one. We will definitely get into the Patriots Seahawks matchup. We will say what's going to happen in the Patriots Seahawks matchup.
Exactly what will happen.
Exactly what will happen. We will predict it.
Just like last week, we both said Bengals. You said it, not on the podcast, not in any recorded form. You didn't. Did you written ones in the paper?
Exactly. Yeah. So that was fun. But this week, I think we'll have a better idea of what's going on in this game. But yeah, let's give some leftover thoughts from week one, because usually leftover thoughts would be kind of boring, but the Patriots won a football game, which in this day and age is rare and big. So I think we were able to kind of go through the stats a little bit. We were able to dissect the film a little bit more. And one standout thing to me, I think it might be a standout thing to you as well, is that offensive line looked at the time pretty good. Stats weren't quite as nice to the Patriots offensive line. There was really two main stats that came out of this game for me. One of which was that Jacoby Brissett was the most pressured quarterback out of any NFL quarterback in week one. But he only took one sack and had the second lowest pressure to sack rate. All in all, that tells me that Patriots offensive line wasn't doing the greatest job of blocking for Jacoby Brissett. And I think we actually said it on Sunday night's show. Jacoby Brissett had a pretty superhuman performance of avoiding pressure, using his strength, agility, getting the ball out quickly. So all in all, the one sack, probably more of a credit to Jacoby Brissett than it was to the Patriots offensive line.
Yeah, and behind the scenes here, I asked you about that stat before the show just to make sure it was right. And now thinking about it, it does lie a little bit, because there were snaps where Trey Hendrickson would go off the edge and rush upfield and sort of rush 7, 8, 9 yards deep, and Brissett would step up and there would be no one there. And it was that a threat for a sack? Probably technically went down as one, but it was sort of handled the way that they cleared out the defensive tackles and left a clean pocket in front of him. It probably isn't. That's probably why it was surprising to see he was the highest. I think we both recognized he was under pressure a lot, and the veteran comfort of being on the field allowed him to step up and out and avoid a lot of trouble. So it's a little bit of both, but I do think we can't look at the one sack, which again was on a scramble where he slid and got his head almost knocked off.
Right. The real sack, the sack wasn't even really a real sack.
Yeah, it was an open field slide / smash because Jacoby Brissett, bad slider. You heard it here first. So yeah, there's a little bit, but I think there can't be any comfort in the fact that it was just one sack, based on the fact that there was a lot of pressure, based on the fact that Cincinnati they had issues on both sides of the ball. So it was a week one preseason type feel. Let's not assume that will carry on and carry forward.
The other offensive line related stat is that Ramondre Stevenson had 118 yards after contact. That was
how many did he have? How many did he have before contact?
Technically, I think 2, because he had 120 rushing yards. Though there's times when he gets hit in the backfield, and then like you have to. So those are kind of extra yards that he's gaining after contact.
So if you're hit 4 yards in the backfield, but you get eight yards, that's 12 yards after contact, but only 8 of your rushing yards.
Yes, correct. So that's not to say that he only got 2 yards before contact.
Okay.
And also, I think it was Taylor Embry, the Patriots running backs coach today, brought up the fact that like sometimes that stat can be a little bit deceiving, because like even if a player's like touched in the backfield, where'd that come from? backfield.
Backyard baseball's back.
It is. Even if a running back is like touched in the backfield, then that still counts for yards after contact. But
It's
still,
contact.
like it's contact that means that there's someone in the backfield or someone somewhere touching Ramondre Stevenson and him picking up yards after that contact. So all in all, at the same time, related to the Jacoby Brissett stat as well, like that includes the snaps that Chukwuma Okorafor was on the field for. So
All 12 of them.
kind of have to discount those a little bit. Offensive line, I think, still better than I expected them to be, or better than they could have been, because it could have been just an outright disaster and it could have completely cratered the Patriots game plan, and it didn't.
Did I tell you I made bets?
You made
Sunday?
bets. Wow. There we go.
So
what were they?
I'm not much of a gambler. I'll throw like $25 in there, and
Mhm.
I had it up to like 170, right? So I took 100 out. So I made $75. I'm a winner. And I
Wow.
just threw the other 70 on Bengals sacks. I had Hendrickson, I had Hubbard. It was like, well, they're going to get sacks. And then they didn't. And I was like, oh, sports betting. Don't do it. Don't. This podcast is brought to you by the Don't Do It Sportsbook.
Yeah.
Just don't. You'll lose.
If we get at some point sponsored by like some sort of betting website, then maybe we'll change our tune on that. But
Yeah.
I'm also not a big sports bettor because you usually lose. And
usually I've won, but I don't really bet much, so it's not impacted my life in a positive way or a negative way.
I'm a big daily fantasy guy, big DraftKings guy, big underdog guy. I think it makes watching the games more fun, especially on a Thursday night game like tonight's. One last stat.
Well, no, this is more important.
Oh yeah,
this is lifestyle.
Please.
This is a big deal for us. We can pause the quarter count if we want to.
Sure.
I'm struggling right now with an identity crisis.
Really?
In that I live for Thursday night football. Like, the crappier, the better. That is my home space. That's where I am comforted. And now tonight there will be Thursday night football. And Doug, there have been Thursday, Friday, Sunday. There have been 4 primetime games already. I have fallen asleep during 3 of them now due to my early morning hours. And I don't know who I am anymore. And so there will be a game in like November, and it will be like the Titans versus the Panthers. And I will be fading in the second quarter, and I will be depressed about it. Just so you know, and everyone else knows, there's no way around it. This is, unless I nap extra on primetime. There's too many primetime games.
There's a lot of primetime games. I mean, obviously this is obvious, but like the real sign to me that it's football season is that it's a Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm like, this day sucks. There's no football on this day. Why would I want to experience this day? Can I just
Yesterday was hard. Wednesday was tough.
Yeah, it's like, I mean, I don't encourage the NFL to start a Wednesday night game because that would be unfair to players. Maybe coming off a bye, I don't know. But like, yeah, on me personally, it's tough when there's not football on at night because I don't really do with myself.
Doug, I'm not saying COVID was good. I'm not. I'm anti-COVID. I want to be out there. I want it on the record. I'm anti-COVID, but there were some benefits to it, such as like Wednesday at 4 p.m. football. Like, oh, did you want to watch the Steelers today at 5? Good news. Everyone got COVID. We had to wait a few days, and here we go. So remember the Patriots, 7:00 Monday Night Football. Wonderful.
Really,
magnificent.
Truly. Well, you're lucky in your first year of this new job. The fact that the Patriots only have one primetime game. Hopefully you don't fall asleep during Patriots Jets. Yeah, that is true. If they keep winning, then maybe they get flexed into those primetime games. That's not a fun thought.
We won't have a post-game podcast that night, okay?
Yeah, probably not. That's
you can do one.
What was that?
You can do one by yourself.
Yeah, no, that's okay. I'll be in New Jersey that night anyway. But one final thought from leftover from week 1. Jalen Polk, very high separation rate from a fantasy website that, to be completely transparent, I probably hadn't heard of before. Might be completely made up stats. Who knows? But high separation rate. It was something that you did see on film. He was separating deep in the field. And I think that hopefully Jacoby Brissett is watching that and saying, I should start targeting this guy more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. There was, at the same time, he was under pressure. So scanning the field and going through his reads probably wasn't as easy as it should be. So there's 2 levels to that. But no, I think that's encouraging. And again, can I verify that stat? No, I cannot.
All right. There are some more things to go over in our first quarter segment here. Jerod Mayo on Monday. Did you see any of his video conference call or listen to his radio interview at all?
Part.
Jerod Mayo really riding the high of that win. Spent about 30 minutes talking to WEI. Spent about 20 or 25 minutes talking to the local media on a video conference call. Really wanted to savor everything. It was the happiest I've ever seen a head coach in New England, probably by about tenfold. Not that the competition is very fierce in that competition, but
well, I mean, when you were 12, you don't remember how happy Pete Carroll was generally. So, but it was a
that
long
is
time
true.
ago. You didn't watch his press conferences back then.
No, I wasn't doing a lot of Pete Carroll. I don't think Bill Parcells was the happiest guy. Yeah, Pete Carroll probably would have been the best competition, but even Pete Carroll, like Jerod Mayo was hard to contend with on that Monday, and he was like challenging teams. He was saying, "We're going to be a run first team. You've got to stop us. We're going to be a run first team until you stop us." Blah blah blah. Does it concern you at all? Because being a run first team, not exactly the most progressive thing in the NFL right now. Most teams that make the playoffs, win the Super Bowl, those type of things are pass first teams. Not that we think that the Patriots are going to be in contention for that this year, but somewhere down the line, you would hope that they would shift into being a pass first team. And Jerod Mayo seems really intent on running the ball this year.
Yeah, considering it's 2024, you would probably want to make that shift. And I think it's easy to thump your chest and strut around and say you're a running team when everything breaks your way. When you have a forced fumble at the goal line, when you force a fumble on the punt, when your interception gets broken up by your tight end, when kind of nothing really went negatively in your way. And that's not always in your control. I mean, the goal line strip being the most random of them all. Like, yeah, Duggar was going in with a punch, but if the tight end is not a dunce, that's a walk-in score. So there's a lot of things that factor in. And let's say they go the other way and you score 10 points, 13 points, and the other team scores 20 points. You don't walk around the next day like we're a running team. So it's probably results based. If they go into the Seattle game and they run for 100 yards on 38 carries, they probably won't be so boastful. So it's I get it. It's the foundation of an identity, but yeah, it's entirely based on a couple of other things that had nothing to do with the running game. And really, Doug, the running game had great results. It was mostly Ramondre Stevenson.
Right.
Like, he needed some blocks, but as we noted by the contact stats, it's not as if it's not as like they're the 2018 Patriots in December and January reincarnated.
No, and someone brought up a good point. I'm doing a mailbag for tomorrow, and someone brought up the good point of like how sustainable would this be for Ramondre Stevenson to get that many touches in a game? And like my first thought was like, well, it's been one game, so clearly like they don't need to put the line in the sand of deciding whether or not this is sustainable or not. But Ramondre Stevenson had 28 touches. If you multiplied that by 17 games, it would be 474 touches in one season.
Is that a lot?
Which clearly is not sustainable. Even when you give Ramondre Stevenson a rest day, limited on Wednesday's practice, at some point you'd like to see more of Antonio Gibson. To your point, Patriots running game was not nearly as effective when Antonio Gibson was on the field. So you either have to start trusting Antonio Gibson, start throwing the ball more, or potentially find a backup running back that you do trust more than Antonio Gibson to start carrying the load a little bit more for Ramondre Stevenson, because in all reality, should probably only be getting like 20 or so touches in a game. And you do have to get some of those rushing opportunities to someone else if you are going to be this like run heavy, run first team.
Something else, Doug. We talked Sunday about Okorafor's PFF grade. Not good.
Yeah.
But I don't know who tweeted it. Maybe it was you. Maybe it was someone else. All of the offensive line grades, not great. Like, it wasn't as if it was even a positive offensive line, according to PFF. And again, that's one measurement, but it was another piece of evidence that the results were very great, but the process had a lot of room for improvement. I think that's the nice way to put it.
Absolutely.
Last topic on this. I can do it real quick. I can do it in 3 seconds. Robert Kraft wants to be in the Hall of Fame. People who work for the Patriots are trying to make it happen. Big story. Done.
I did. Thoughts? I mean, the ESPN story that we're referencing, it was a lot of words on the topic.
It was long, and I love a long read. I love those. There's usually a lot in there. I think I summed it up. Did I miss anything? He's jealous
No,
of
and
Jerry Jones.
I thought I mean, to discuss this for like 1 second or 1 minute, I did think it was like Don Van Natta, great writer. Like I
Mhm.
couldn't do the things that he does. He's fantastic. Like all the things that he's done with Wickersham and everything. Great work by Don Van Natta. I'm not exactly sure why the story was constructed the way that it was, where like it seemed like it was this big sort of controversy. If I was writing that story, and maybe this is why Don Van Natta is Don Van Natta and I'm Doug Kyde, but it would have been like Robert Kraft's not in the Hall of Fame yet. He
Why?
deserves to be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
So why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Rather than like bringing all of this pseudo nefariousness into the situation.
Yeah. Like let's pin Stacey James as some sort of like madman. It's like, well,
Right.
he works for Robert Kraft.
Yeah. And
Okay.
like,
Like
I mean,
everyone works for someone and does work for that person.
right.
And honestly, if it was a crazy thing, if this was like, I don't know, Mark Davis trying to get in the Hall of Fame, then it would be
Right.
very funny, embarrassing. But objectively, the resume is obvious that Robert Kraft belongs in there.
Yeah.
Like you're right. The interesting part is why not? Like, do people
Right.
hate him? Is it Spygate? Like, can we flush this one out? But instead, it's just I don't know. I try to make Kraft look bad. Like, yeah, he's a vain billionaire. That's what
Right.
billionaires are by nature. Like that's part and parcel. Did I say part and parcel today? It's a requirement for being a billionaire.
And like ultimately, 6 Super Bowl championships, no matter what you think of Robert Kraft, everything else he's done behind the scenes, it's pretty wild that he's not in the Hall of Fame and that other owners have gone in front of him.
Yeah, ended the lockout, huge in the TV money.
Yeah.
It's I mean, Ralph Wilson's in there. How many Super Bowls do the Bills have?
Right.
A lot?
0.
Really?
Yeah.
No. Bills Mafia? All
I
right.
mean, yeah, it is what it is. But Kraft deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. It ultimately, yeah, the bigger story there, and I think he told the story of why he's not in, but it was just
Quick.
structured in such an odd way.
Yep.
All right, next topic here for us. We'll get through this one quickly. Super Bowl 49 reunion happening on Sunday at Gillette Stadium. Apropos, since the Patriots are playing the Seahawks on Sunday. So they're reuniting the Super Bowl team that beat the Seahawks 9.5 or so years after they won the Super Bowl. I don't know. I feel like this is something that just is like thrown together and tossed on us on a Thursday, which seems a little bit odd, but still cool, I guess.
You're looking at someone who attended the 8th celebration of the Red Sox 2004 victory. This was during the Bobby Valentine year. They were so bad and so hopeless. They were like, you know what? September, we're getting the gang back together. And like 9 people were there. Like Jason Varitek,
Right.
Trot Nixon came. I don't think you're going to get the full 53 out there on Sunday if that's what's happening. But I think the whole idea is to get Malcolm Butler up there and get a good vibe going. I don't hate it. I think it's always a good thing to celebrate Super Bowls. And the longer you go without one, you realize how rare and fleeting they are.
3 of the guys are on staff, so they're easy. They're easy pulls. Jerod
People
Mayo,
forget
Dante
too.
Hightower, Matthew Slater.
Malcolm Butler also member of the 2023 Patriots, 2022, both.
One of those years, yeah.
Maybe both.
Summer roster, but still, yeah.
That was strange.
Patriots are wearing their silver pants on Sunday.
People love that.
I know you're not a big uniform guy. A lot of people thought that this was a permanent change. I've been informed that it's not a permanent change. So that's breaking news right here on the Pats Chat podcast. You get it first right here. They will be going
it should
back
be permanent.
to those blue pants. But yeah, I think everyone kind of agrees, other than maybe the people in charge, that it should be permanent. The blue jersey, the silver pants looks better than the blue jersey and the blue pants.
They look like idiots. Let's be real. And it's the craziest thing about Patriots jerseys and silver pants. They look good. That's my thoughts.
Well, I mean, I think they should wear the silver pants even with the white jerseys.
Yep.
I don't think have they done that yet? They've done that once, maybe.
I don't know. I just know that the two crazy things is one is 2000 you change the uniforms and you draft Tom Brady. 2019 he leaves and the jerseys change. That's crazy. The exact beginning and end of Tom Brady's career was marked by the jerseys. And second, there was a time, I think it was 2002, I want to say, when the Brady era Patriots wore all blue and they got their asses kicked. And Belichick said literally never again. And they're cursed. And whether that's because they just look like dorks or there's actual witchcraft involved, doesn't matter. It's bad luck. Silver pants, wear them.
they've had the current jerseys, like you said, since 2020. What they shouldn't wouldn't it be cool to have like an alternate jersey of some sort?
Well, they
Every
do.
other team has one. Well,
They're
no, they
red.
have a throwback, but they don't have an alternate. Usually teams have a throwback and a third alternate.
I don't
And
know.
I'm
I don't.
and I'm about to tell you what the alternate should be. It
Yeah.
should be their current jersey, but royal blue. So it's like a
Huh.
nod to the mid '90s without bringing back the mid '90s jerseys. Just make it a little bit different, you know?
They need a whole thing. These are flop. They
Well,
flop.
yeah,
How many
they
years do you
need
got to
new
do? 5?
uniforms overall, but
How many years do you got to wear the same uniform before you can change it again? Because these, like we've seen the Jets. The Jets have had like 9 different iterations in the past 15 years. So you can
Bucks
change
have
it.
changed them a bunch. Yeah, a
Yeah.
few teams
The
have gone
the
through a lot of changes.
Seahawks have like 31 jerseys.
Yeah.
What are they going to wear Sunday? No one knows.
Drake Maye still getting a sizable amount of first team reps in practice. I don't know. I think this is overall a good thing because I do think that Drake May should be playing sooner rather than later. But I think that if you're winning games, maybe there would be some concern over how much Jacoby Brissett can thrive if Drake May's cutting into those first team reps. But overall, I'm supportive of this. What do you think?
Yeah. And one of the thoughts I had, because once the dust settles on week 1 and it's Monday and you're like, geez, passing was down yesterday. You're looking at some stats. You're looking at, I mean, Caleb Williams at 93 yards, I want to say. And you're like, huh, maybe Brissett's 121-yard performance wasn't actually
Yeah.
substantial. Maybe it was middle of the pack. And so I looked and it was 31st. So,
Mm,
yeah, there's still a lot of room to improve there. And as much fun as it is to be a running team, like we'll get into our predictions later. And when I laid out my schedule, I had the Patriots at 1-3 through 4 games. That's still on the table. So
yeah.
how exciting is it to be a running team in 1-3? It will require some changes. So I think you're right. It's good. I still think the Drake change will. There's been no indication from one game that they shouldn't that they should veer away from the rookie
Right.
starting at some point this season.
No, I think that it should be sooner rather than later. I think that could potentially, like, team already proved they can win one game. I think they could potentially win more if they have a more dangerous quarterback behind center. Uh, One other note on young wide receivers, Jerod Mayo was asked why Javon Baker was inactive this week. He said that he's got to do more developing on and off the field.
Hmm.
So not the greatest quote on Javon Baker. Same time, wide receivers coach Tyler Hughes said today that Baker is a guy who's probably going to be playing more and more as the season goes on. And one other note on a young wide receiver, Kayshon Boutte
Hmm.
won one of the Patriots Practice Player of the Week awards. It goes to like 7 different guys, but Tyler Hughes said it was because Kayshon Boutte imitated Jamar Chase in practice. Then I asked Kayshon Boutte about imitating Jamar Chase in practice. He was like, yeah, I think one practice I had like 200 yards and 2 touchdowns. So, like, I was like, I was like, did you give the Patriots a better look than Jamar Chase did? And he's like, nah, I wouldn't say that, but I think I did get them more prepared for Jamar Chase. So like, I
Yeah.
don't know, man. If you got 200 yards and 2 touchdowns, you were way better than Jamar Chase out there.
Did he mope around and cry about a punt and not get off the field and complain to reporters and lie about a stomach bug, or was that would have been too much?
I don't know if it was like a full like Daniel Day-Lewis type performance, or if he was just kind of showing up like I don't know, like a Ben Affleck type or something. But yeah, that would have. They know each other. They were both on the 2020 LSU team. Jamar Chase didn't play that season, but they were teammates before.
All right.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, for the second time, I'll say sports gambling. Do not do it. Keishan
No,
Booty.
no, no, no. Yeah.
Don't do it
Especially if you're
68,000 times.
especially if you're an NFL player, and don't do it when you're underage either. Certainly, but I mean, Kayshon Boutte probably trending more upwards. Javon Baker maybe trending more downwards
Mhm,
right now
mhm,
on the
mhm.
Patriots depth chart. Don't see Javon Baker getting 200 yards and 2 touchdowns in practice, but Kayshon Boutte does. I understand that you wanted to ask me a question about a former starting left tackle on the Patriots.
Yeah. How cool is Trent Brown in orange? No, just kidding. I was just thinking because Okorafor seems to be firmly a backup now. It seems like he only started because of concerns about Lowe's health last week, and now that's that that Okorafor is a backup. That was their only free agent effort at the position. So if he ends up not being a part of it, how How much of a hindrance is that going to be this season? Because we know they don't grow on trees.
I mean, well, first of all, I don't know if I mentioned this on Sunday's show or not. I probably did, but Chukwuma Okorafor is listed at 320 pounds. I saw him step on a scale and he weighed it less than 300 pounds. It was like 298, 299, which you can kind of see on the field. Like he looks slender. But when they signed him, I asked a source on the team, like, what's the thought process here? Is it like, we think that he has the potential to start. He could potentially play left tackle, but he at least like raises our floor as a swing tackle. So I think that, but that was probably in mind that they would have some better option at left tackle, better than Vidarian Lowe. And now they have to go back to Vidarian Lowe. I don't think it really necessarily changed their approach, though, is what I'm saying, by signing Chukwuma Okorafor. I don't think that bringing him on made them decide not to sign some other left tackle. They still drafted Caden Wallace with kind of that same idea that maybe he could move over to left tackle. So all in all, I mean, it's a big deal that they didn't do anything, but I don't think that Chukwuma Okorafor is like this huge puzzle piece behind it. The thing that, like, I think it would be worth experimenting still at this point of putting Vidarian Lowe at left tackle, Mike Onwenu at right guard, Layden Robinson at left guard, David Andrews at center, and then try Okorafor at right tackle. The issue is that the Patriots don't have a bye until December. So like they don't have a great opportunity to do that. Maybe after the Thursday game against the Jets, they could reshuffle that line again and see if they want to move Onwenu back to right guard. But like, it's almost safer now at this point to keep it the way it is and just have Okorafor as a backup, even if you might have slightly higher upside with Okorafor as a right tackle. The big thing is that like Okorafor just doesn't look comfortable at left tackle.
Yeah.
He doesn't look like he's played the position before because he hasn't played it since college. They kind of threw him out there. It didn't work. And now, unfortunately, he's a backup when if things had shaken out a little bit differently, he might be like an average starting right tackle, you know?
Yeah, I disagree only because I've seen when you play right guard and right tackle switch and flip flop to it's like the Michael Scott snip snap snip snap. So I'm just like let him play a position regularly. I think he'd be good at it.
And since he's already at right tackle, like yeah, it probably wouldn't
Yeah.
raise the floor that much by having Okorafor at right tackle and Onwenu at right guard, but it would be another option if this line self-destructs, you know?
Sure. All right. Thank you for your answer, Doug. Doug, I'm like male Doug.
I love it. All right, let's get into our second quarter. These are supposed to be like 10 minutes apiece. First quarter was 28 minutes. You know, it happens sometimes.
We'll have shorter ones.
I think these will be definitely shorter. Let's talk about the Patriots Seahawks game. First off, let's start off with Patriots on offense, Seahawks on defense. I'll let you start off. What are your biggest concerns heading into this game with the Patriots on offense and Seahawks on defense?
It is with the Patriots offense scoring points. Back to you. No, I mean we've touched on it quite a bit, so there's no need to overhammer it. But the offense wasn't very good. Like Ramondre Stevenson was great. Period.
Yeah.
They had decent escapism from Jacoby Brissett. They had like sticks and popsicle sticks and glue on the offensive line. It worked. Can they put together a little bit better? Because now they've raised expectations. If they went out there and sucked Sunday and looked like we thought they would, then I wouldn't be saying that. But they put forth a decent effort. Can it improve? Because that's what they all said. We saw Jerod Mayo's post-game huddle in the locker room about improving. Like, don't get mad at us this week when we bang it out in the practice field because we want to get better. And I've heard it from players, in the media that they want to get better. So are they really on that focused path, or are they feeling as good as Jerod Mayo was on Monday and just kind of feeling better than they are? That's what I'm looking at offensively. You?
I have three biggest concerns, which is not great. Three biggest concerns. It's more than you'd like to have. First one was that the Seahawks run defense was very good against the Broncos running backs. Most of the yards that they allowed, or like the biggest gains they allowed, were to Bo Nix, not to the Broncos running backs. And that's going to be an issue for a team that wants to be run heavy. Seahawks have Leonard Williams, Byron Murphy, Jonathan Hankins, Tyrell Dodson, Jerome Baker, all in that front seven, all good run defenders. So Patriots might need to shift at some point and become a little bit more of a pass-heavy team if the Seahawks have the same sort of success against the Patriots running attack than they did against the Broncos. If they do decide to pass, Riq Woolen and Devin Witherspoon are two good cornerbacks. So that's another big issue. And it looks like Devin Witherspoon typically stays in the slot. So I'm not sure if he can eliminate Demario Douglas, but might be another game where Demario Douglas is not that heavily involved. Riq Woolen typically faces off against the team's opposing X receivers. So if I'm the Patriots, I just throw Tyquan Thornton out there against Riq Woolen and just kind of not waste his time, but say like, here, take out Tyquan Thornton, have fun, like go at it. And then don't probably target Tyquan Thornton that often. And then the third one is that the Seahawks can bring pressure using stunts, games. That's kind of a big thing that head coach Mike Macdonald does. And this is an inexperienced offensive line that's had a lot of moving pieces. And I'm just not sure how well they are going to handle those, especially when we saw in the preseason, you had City Sow running into Layden Robinson and creating a sack that way. I'm not so sure how well this offensive line is going to be able to handle complex rushing attacks, rushing attacks with the Seahawks.
And that's the point I kind of made earlier. The Bengals did not have a complex rushing attack.
No.
It was Trey Hendrickson go, and he was literally flustered. Like, where is everybody? So better coaching, better ingredients. Seattle Seahawks.
Where do you think the Patriots can thrive on offense against the Seahawks defense?
If you think about it, in the offensive line issues, maybe the receivers' lack of talent, Austin Hooper looked pretty good. You know, you got tight end contributions. Hunter Henry, you know, obviously he didn't play in the preseason at all, if I'm not mistaken. So to see him pop up and just sort of be Hunter Henry, you're like, oh yeah, right.
Yeah.
They have something there. So I would say small incremental 5 to 15 yard passes to the tight ends and get in field goal range. I think that's what you're looking at. You're not looking at any game breaking playmakers still. So I look as close as you can get to the offensive line, and there you have two decent options.
Yeah, and I mean, there was a mic'd up segment during training camp where Jacoby Brissett was saying, like, I love a good tight end. I love throwing to tight ends. And Patriots do have two good, they've got a above average. I'm got something stuck in my throat.
Keep going. I'm not gonna help.
They have a good tight end in Hunter Henry, and they have probably like one of the best backup tight ends in Austin Hooper. So overall, that tight end group is in pretty good shape compared to the rest of the Patriots starting offense. I think there's two areas where the Patriots can thrive on offense. Number one is targeting Trey Brown because he's just kind of like a jag on the other side of Riq Woolen. He's that other outside cornerback. I think there's a possibility that we could see a lot of Jalen Polk and KJ Osborne against Trey Brown. KJ Osborne, pretty solid in that opening week one game. Jalen Polk was getting a lot of separation already against the Bengals. And I think that could be your big play threat for the Patriots in this game is Jalen Polk running down the field. And the other one is that Drew Wilkins, the Patriots outside linebackers coach, has spent a lot of time with Mike Macdonald throughout their coaching careers. They both coached together on the Baltimore Ravens for a number of years. And I think that just is helpful. Like Mike Macdonald, there's not a lot of people who know exactly what he's doing around the league. And the Patriots have someone in the building who's coached a lot with him, might know some of those pass rushing games and stunts that Mike Macdonald likes to use, might have some intel on what is in Mike Macdonald's head, which I think it helps. I think that's beneficial to have that about a head coach.
Doug, moment of honesty. You've done a lot more prep work on the Seahawks than I have. Just got to lay it out there. I'm not a writer anymore. The homework quotient has dipped for me. I'll be honest. But that's why you're here.
There's a lot of people on the beat who have done even more research on the Seattle Seahawks than I have done. But
oh, stop it! No one likes humility. We like braggadocio. We're a research podcast.
All right, let's get into the third quarter here. As we said, second quarter, much shorter than the first quarter. This is Patriots on defense versus the Seahawks on offense. I'll let you start off again. Biggest concerns about the Seahawks on offense, Patriots on defense.
So I know how last week played out. I don't want to overreact. It was a Kenneth Walker game. Mm-hmm. What concerns me, like, what do you think? Where does Gonzalez match up with Lockett or with Metcalf?
I would guess Metcalf. I think it just makes the most sense to put the tallest guy on the tallest guy.
Then Tyler Lockett scares the ever-loving PP out of me because I don't know, 8 years, you watch a Seahawks game, you're like, this guy's the best receiver in the league. And you know he's not, but he has those types of plays. He has those types of games. He has some sort of connection with even Geno Smith, which tells you how good he is. So I would say that secondary one, whether it's who goes over there, John Jones.
I think John Jones, yeah.
Who also, this is a PFF podcast. Sorry. His PFF numbers were ridiculous.
Yeah, they were great.
He had a very good game. So yeah, we've seen cases, and I'm trying to go back over the last few years where like when John Jones was like the number one corner and would cover like Stephon Diggs, and it was like, he can't. And that's
Right.
If you can, don't get me wrong, but that elite level of top tier receiver was too good for him. So I would say that's an issue. And I say I'm not worried about Kenneth Walker because I play baseball and I like dove around a couple times last week and I was sore for like a few days. And I know Kenneth Walker got banged up in that game. And I'm like, man, he's not going to be able to run for 100 yards again. So that's a little inside breaking news for you too on this podcast.
It's huge. That's huge.
It can't be ignored. If you're sore as a running back, that's not good.
No. And if you're sore as a 38-year-old dad, it's the same thing as being sore as a running back. I think we could all agree with that.
Thank you.
For my biggest concerns, number one, I agree with you. The 3 wide receivers are really good. And that's a problem because you've got Jackson Smith and Jigba in there as well. Mm-hmm. First round pick from last year, had like 500 or so yards, but just from watching him a lot at Ohio State, because I thought there was a chance the Patriots were going to draft him, like he's the closest facsimile that I've seen coming out of the draft to Julian Edelman. He just like plays a lot like a taller, slightly skinnier Julian Edelman. And Julian Edelman was hell to cover, I understand, for opposing defensive backs. And I think that would probably be Marcus Jones on Jackson Smith and Jigba. And I mean, I'm going to say it probably all year. Marcus Jones is 5'8". Jackson Smith and Jigba is 6 feet. There's a sizable difference between those two heights, and it just makes things a little bit more challenging for Marcus Jones. I will certainly say that Marcus Jones was better than I thought he would be in week 1, exceeded my expectations, but I'm not going to just take that as being like, all right, he's going to be great all year. I want to see it week after week after week against a team that has a much better third wide receiver, which is the Seahawks. Like, I don't think that the Patriots are going to face a better third wide receiver this season, probably, than Jackson Smith and Jigba. I haven't fully done my research on that one yet. But it's a big challenge for Marcus Jones, and you can't really shift attention any sort of way in this game because all 3 wide receivers are good. And my other concern, I just wrote down, Kenneth Walker is really good. And I don't know. The run defense, I think, still needs. I need proof that the run defense is good. And we should say Kenneth Walker hasn't practiced for 2 straight days, so it's possible that it's someone else playing running back for the Seahawks. And if it is someone else, I think that's a huge gain for the Patriots, kind of similar to the T. Higgins injury from last week, where that could wind up being a game changer because it would be Zach Charbonnet or Kenny McIntosh, someone who's considerably worse than Kenneth Walker starting at running back.
Yeah, and you want things that don't concern me?
Yes.
Keon White?
So Keon White.
Keon White. I think he's going to be one of those guys that is effective no matter what, and that's maybe an overreaction to week 1, but boy is he big and strong, and the whole preseason. I mean, he is just a force, and so he doesn't scare me. I think he's going to impact the play. I feel like I didn't break down the film like maybe I used to.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Dietrich Wise had maybe the most like silent, impactful game last week. He was his normal self. I feel like I like what I saw from that front 7 in terms of the pass rush, in terms of creating some havoc in the pocket. So yeah, maybe I didn't really key in on the run defense, but I kind of like what they're building there.
Yeah, absolutely. And Geno Smith, in my section of where the Patriots can thrive on defense, number 1, Geno Smith isn't always great under pressure. So I think the Patriots are able to bring pressure with Keon White, Joshua Uche, Dietrich Wise. They can certainly affect Geno Smith. Number 2, Kenneth Walker's status is uncertain. We don't know whether or not he's going to play. Not usually a great sign that a running back misses the first 2 weeks of the first 2 practices of a week. So we'll see what happens there. Number 3 is that the Seahawks right tackle situation is really shaky. They were down to their 3rd option, Stone Forsyth, on Sunday because George Fant got hurt and Abraham Lucas was already hurt going into the season. So that's an area where I think the Patriots can really attack the Seahawks because their right guard situation is also kind of shaky, where they've got like a 4th-round pick from last year starting. I think he only had like a 54 grade on PFF last week. So attack that right side of the line. And number 4, another connection here. Patriots wide receivers coach Tyler Hughes was on Seahawks offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb's staff at Washington last season. He was, I think, basically like a quality control coach under Ryan Grubb. So Ryan Grubb is also this like huge uncertainty around the NFL because he's coming from college. He's only ever spent time in college. Was at Washington for 2 years. Was at Indiana. Was at Fresno State, Sioux Falls, like all these crazy small schools. But if anyone in the league knows what Ryan Grubb likes to do, it's the Patriots wide receivers coach. And I think some defenders told Andrew Callahan of the Boston Globe that Tyler Hughes had met with them, told them some of the tendencies, what he likes to do. I asked Tyler Hughes about it. He was a little bit more like shy or just didn't really want to get into it that much. But he's like, yeah, maybe I can be of some help. But I think that that's big. I think that that's huge to have someone on staff who knows what the Seahawks like to do on offense, because there's very few people around the NFL who can say the same thing.
Yeah, that's some good intel because I don't know a lot about those guys. Can I ask you some injury report stuff while we're here?
Absolutely. Yeah.
What went on today? Because I'm not on the emails anymore. Like guys were added, guys were subtracted. Was there like a computer hack? What happened?
So that's a good question. City Sao still not practicing, which means that Michael Jordan probably going to be your starting guard again, which, as I mentioned, if you're the 1995 Chicago Bulls, that's great. If you're the 2024 Patriots, it's okay. But Kyle Duggar also added to the injury report, and Layden Robinson added to the injury report as well. So you just don't know what this all means usually on these injury reports, where we'll have a much better sense tomorrow. But if Kyle Duggar can't play, Jalen Hawkins being in there, that would be a huge deficit for the Patriots, since Kyle Duggar is one of your best defenders. And if Layden Robinson can't play, good Lord, I think that Zach Thomas might be your next option at guard.
I think we got to go Zachary.
You got to go Zachary because the Dolphins linebacker.
All due respect, he ain't no Zach Thomas. But then like Andrews and Stevenson were on it, and then they weren't.
Yeah, they both got rest days on Wednesday, which is new for the Patriots. Jerod Mayo introducing veteran rest days.
So this was just day to day. All right, I misread a tweet. I got you. I thought it was like it came out, and then a few hours later, it's like the corrected ones, and I was like, "What happened?" Glad we solved that, Doug.
So if Layden Robinson can't go, it would either be Zachary Thomas or Brian Hudson. They were the two backup guards today. I talked to Zachary Thomas actually today. Nice guy. He said that he's still kind of trying to learn the techniques that Scott Peters likes to teach. So maybe not the greatest thing if he has to start, but he's had some moments with the Rams. I don't know. I trust Zachary Thomas, but it's definitely ideal if Layden Robinson can play. But yeah, those are the two injuries that were really. What was that?
I'm going to clip that. I trust Zachary Thomas. It's like, who doesn't, dude?
He seemed like a trustworthy guy. I like Zachary. He was a nice guy. All right. So now getting into our fourth quarter, what happens against the Seahawks? What do you think happens in this one?
I went into the season thinking, we were in the fourth. I went into the season being like, you would probably win that one, but I also kind of only saw them winning one in the first three, in the first four. So I think sometimes there are major swings in these first 4 weeks of the seasons. I used to do a picks column, Doug. The first month was carnage. It was trying to survive because you overreact. You don't know what's going in week one, and then you overreact to week one, and then you're just chasing your tail for a while. So I don't know. I want to stick with the pick that the Patriots win, but I just feel like last week's win throws off the plot. So I'm going to say the Seahawks come in and play.
That's a good guess. I hope that they're going to show up. That's a good first step.
Don't stay at the Westin in Waltham though, like the Texans did in 2016, because then you will show up zonked. I'll pick the Seahawks.
Seahawks. All right.
You know what my reasoning is?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It seems like your reasoning is because the Patriots won in week one.
It threw me off. If the Patriots lost last week, I'm like, they're going to win this one. But I don't know. It's a test. It's a test. And I could go either way. My prediction doesn't really matter. I'm saying we will learn whether they ate a little too much Patriots pie after beating the Bengals and flying home, which they deserve that celebration. They deserve to feel good about it.
Absolutely.
What did they do the week after? Did they keep the right focus? We have a first-year head coach. There's a lot that we don't know. So I'm just laying out the possibility that it goes one way. If it goes the other way, I'll be like, huh, got a little something there.
I it's a West Coast team coming east for a 1:00 game. I think that definitely plays the Patriots' advantage. Alex Barth of 98.5 brought up the fact that it's a first-year head coach, first road trip. Obviously, that went well for Jerod Mayo, but this is a longer road trip. I don't think it's necessarily fun for a football team to have to fly 3,000 miles from Seattle to New England and have to play a game. Seahawks roster is more talented than the Patriots, I think significantly so. They've got a lot of really good players on defense. They've got those 3 really good wide receivers. Kenneth Walker's really good. I gave my prediction last night on the radio that the Seahawks would win 14-13. Just a real low scoring affair, defense on defense. I think the Patriots can win this, though. I do think it's a very much winnable game. I think that if you're just looking at on paper of which team has more talent, it is the Seahawks. But I mean, if the Patriots start off 2-0, it would be real fun. I'll say that.
You want to amplify that by 10?
Yeah.
What if the Jets lose in Tennessee, and then you get that week 3 Thursday nighter 2-0 versus 0-2? And anything can happen on a Thursday. I mean, the home team usually has the advantage, but the New York media, Aaron Rodgers, a short week. Yeah. So you know what I want to happen. I got my popcorn out. But yeah, I think we're both in the same boat.
Yeah.
We are prepped for a low-scoring, tight game. The Patriots could win it. They might not.
So after week 1, I have improved the Patriots' projected record to 5-12. If they win this one, I'm going like 8-9 or something, I think.
Wow.
Like
I'll still
I would
with
have
6.
I would have way more faith in the Patriots if they win in week 2 than just based off the week 1 win.
People looked at the schedule this year and they forgot that for as bad as last year was, they won 4. Like they did win games, and then people looked this year like they might not win any. That doesn't make a whole lot of sense, does it?
No.
And then you look at last week, regardless. How about this point? Regardless of what happens this week or how you're looking after 4 weeks, did you watch the Panthers last week?
Right.
Like we saw what duty
what
looks
bad
like.
looks like. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're not even close to that. So again, I don't really sports gamble. I wish I did Panthers with the worst record just to as a spite pick against everyone saying the Patriots would be the worst team in the league. They will not be worse than the Panthers.
I also think, like, as dumb as it sounds, after watching the defense in week 1, maybe the trading Judon and Barmore being out were kind of overblown because, like,
well, let's wait on that.
I ultimately that's smart. That is the smarter thing to say than what I'm currently saying right now.
Well, no, the Judon thing, I'll grant you because they played without him last year and they were one of the best defenses. Right. The Barmore thing might catch up to you, I think.
I think my argument against that is that, like, they're basically just trading Christian Barmore for Christian Gonzalez as long as Gonzalez stays healthy. Because, like, they had Barmore last year. They didn't have Gonzalez. Now they've got Gonzalez. They might not have Barmore. So, but overall, I don't think that I didn't believe that the defense could be as, cohesive without Bill Belichick and Steve Belichick. And it looked like they were in week 1. And the strength of the Patriots defense for years has not been talent. It's having smart players who know where to be. And I think that the Patriots defense still has smart players who know how to be. And they do still have some very top tier talents. Like, obviously Christian Gonzalez has the potential to be one of the best cornerbacks in the NFL. They've got 2 really good safeties. Keon White looks like he could be a monster. They've got 2 linebackers who are very good. So, like, I think the tenets of the Patriots talent construction and roster construction on defense are still very much similar to what they used to be. Obviously it would help to have Christian Barmore, but yeah.
All right, Doug, that was thought provoking. You've provoked my thoughts. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm going to let it settle in. I'm going to think about it. I like what you said, and I'm going to sit on it.
Eastside Boston Pats fan on our comments here said Keon White is going to be the difference. So he agrees with you, Michael.
I got to be honest. I got to get better at remembering whose tweets I saw. Someone was doing some film work on Keon White. and it was Trent Brown pulling from the right tackle spot around to him, and
Yeah,
it was a full speed collision, and Keon White won somehow.
it's
So, I
wild.
mean, again, we know Trent Brown's whatever full force varies based on how into it he is, but still, just the sheer size and speed and just the basic physics of that collision, for him to come out on the winning end was insane.
Have you seen Keon White in person?
No. Oh, nah, yeah, probably no, I did last year.
Like
Not this year. He looks
he's
different.
6'5", 290 pounds, but like I don't think he's got any fat on him whatsoever. And in that game on Sunday against the Bengals, he played inside linebacker, he played outside linebacker, he played defensive end, he played defensive tackle, he even played some nose tackle. Like, what other player in the NFL can even do this? Like, how many 6'5", 290-pound guys can stand up at outside linebacker and run like a 4.7? He's just it. It's wild that this guy exists and that he was drafted in the second round. And it looks like this season he's going to play up to that full potential, which would be absolutely massive for the Patriots.
He's built like I wouldn't normally mention a kids movie on it. Just kidding, I would. But Inside Out 2 made like $8 billion this year. He's built like Anger in Inside Out, just sort of like
Stretched
a,
out.
a bulky rectangle of fire. That is
Yeah.
basically what you're looking at. So print the shirts.
If there was like, Keon White is not JJ Watt, but JJ Watt's another guy who was like that body size, that body type who could play like anywhere on the defensive line. So even if you're like the poor man's JJ Watt, you're still probably a Pro Bowl player, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
This was good too. The thoughts have been provoked.
Overtime, real quick. I haven't done this yet, but I have a Oreo flavored Coke Zero on here right now. As you can see, I've already drank half the bottle.
I do worry about
but,
you sometimes with these
but I
things.
haven't reviewed this yet. I'm gonna do
Yeah?
just like a live Doug's Buds right now on the Pat's Chat podcast.
I bet there's people that dunk their Oreos in Coke, and that's where they got this from.
It's not good. I'm afraid to say it's not good.
How does it compare to Rock and Rye Faygo?
This is pretty not good, so it might be worse. There's a reason why I've had this bottle in my house, this 20-ounce bottle of Oreo Coca-Cola Zero for like 3 days, and I haven't finished it yet. It wasn't to save it for this podcast. It's because it's not good enough to finish. And the combination of chocolate and cream and Coca-Cola Zero, I don't find it that pleasant personally.
I mean, I could have told you that before you bought the thing, but that's what makes you you and me.
I do think because there's also Coke flavored Oreos. I tried those too. Those were a little better, but I also did not finish that sleeve either.
I smell a corporate conspiracy at play. These mega corporations were like, let's just mash it together, man. They're so dumb, they'll buy anything.
Here I am. I'm the dumb
They didn't
one,
count on
everything.
you just with the negative reviews, though. They're like, damn.
Fortunately, I didn't buy the there's like the full size Oreos. I bought one that was like a 4-pack. Glad it was just a 4-pack. Wouldn't have got through.
Bad value.
Like $5.
Bad value. The cost per Oreo is
absolutely
insanely higher, but
yeah,
you made the right choice because now you don't have all those Oreos.
Yep, don't have all those Oreos. Didn't spend the $5. I saved some waste. I'm
a big cost per guy at the grocery store when there's the price, but then next to it's like cost per quart or cost per whatever, and you're like,
yep.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm an idiot if I don't get 40,000 Oreos. It's 7 cents an Oreo.
Sometimes you have to do math on that though, because sometimes the like price per doesn't line up. So then you're like, all right, well, which one? And then like one's on sale, one's not. So it's like, all right, now I have to buy 2 of these to match it. Yeah, I do the same thing. Yep. It's important in today's day and age.
Every penny counts. You know, Massachusetts came in on the census as the richest state, average median household of $99,000. But you know what they said, Doug? People have more money. They don't feel like it. And it's because we're paying all that money for Oreos now.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Got to do the cost per. You got to look at the cost per. I didn't do that on the Oreos. Wound up making the right decision.
And don't gamble on sports.
All right, I think this will do it for today's Pat Chat podcast. Thank you guys for listening in. Sorry we don't have a reunion for Michael Hurley to regale us about, but maybe I will at some point in the next year.
I hope so. It was fun. Where'd you go to high school? Sharon?
Sharon High School.
Again, a town I know nothing about. I passed through on the way to Gillette.
Yep, it's on the way.
You've told me about it. I don't remember what you said.
There's about 5 or 6 different towns that border Sharon, which seems like a lot.
Rentham?
Easton, Stoughton, no. Easton, Stoughton, Foxborough, Walpole.
Stoughton.
Yep.
Huh. I always think of that as like a 24 town.
Canton.
But it cuts over to 495, I guess.
It does. Stoughton and Sharon share Bay Road. Goes right to Crescent Ridge Ice Cream and to Town Spa Pizza.
Ah.
So, a lot of towns. A lot of towns to border. I think Mansfield might border Sharon. If not, it's close. But yeah, Sharon High School.
Look at this. We did median household income. We did geography. We did economics. This is a well-rounded podcast. And we did Inside Out too.
Yeah, we sure did. All right. Well, make sure to subscribe to the Pat's Chat podcast on Apple, Spotify, iHeart, wherever you get your podcasts. And we will be back probably Sunday night to recap the Patriots Seahawks game. And we'll see if we're right or if we're wrong. And I'll tell you guys if I change my mind at the last minute on Saturday.
You'll tell us Sunday night that whatever happened, you actually started telling people privately on Saturday. Good time. All right.
Well, thank you for talking to me, Michael. And thank you for everyone for listening. I will talk to you guys later.